Madhavi Panday will be up next to speak to us about Suriname. She's a dedicated and highly motivational professional with more than 18 years of experience providing quality service and building accounting and auditing technical expertise in the public, private, and federal sectors. She has a deep understanding of the financial statement process and internal control environment. She's been working with this is where I almost stutter, Statoil, I want to make sure I pronounce it properly, since April 2018 in different managerial roles responsible for the first time IFRS adaptation. She's an alumni of Ernst & Young USA, and she decided to leave the public accounting industry as an experienced senior manager to focus on the oil and gas industry in her home country. So she's a returnee to her country. She's an active and licensed CPA and a member of the AICPA, and she's back home in Suriname. Over to you.
Thank you, Alison, for the nice introduction, and Martin for explaining the oil and gas industry from a Guyana perspective. That's very interesting also for myself. In today's Suriname's presentation, we'll have it more about Statoil, and you did pronounce it correctly, Alison, so no problem about that. And then more so from an NOC perspective, a national oil company. We'll go a little bit into the history from Statoil's perspective, and then we'll go into the current developments with the recent oil discoveries in the offshore department from Suriname's perspective. So Statoil was founded in 1980. One of the things that is a little bit characteristical for a NOC is that you might have a dual role, a commercial role, so the integrated energy company, but also a institutional role, whereby, and we have ring-fenced it very recently in 2020, in February of 2020, which is called SHI, the Statoil Hydrocarbon Institute, which is a subsidiary of Statoil. But what is the important role of SHI? It's an agent acting on behalf of the government on any hydrocarbon potential. And that's very important to realize, the ring fencing that we've done very recently. So that's one of the recent developments. At the FID, so the final investment decision, which is supposed to happen somewhere next year, I think first half of next year, will place a supervisory board comprising of the CEO of Statoil, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Natural Resources, and two other selected members who would be sitting in that board of HSI. And then Statoil, the dual role that Statoil has, it has the concession agreements on the left side with the government of Suriname. And then on the other side, we do need to have our PSAs with the IOCs at this moment. And then so that's what SHI is helping us get all organized. Too quickly. When we look at the company profile from Statoil, our value chain, we do a lot. It's not only upstream and downstream that you see in the two horizontal columns here, but we also do some retail, we have some thermal power plants, we have a hydro dam, and we do some gold business. So it's one of the things that's nice about the different things that Statoil got into in the past 5 years, I think, especially if you think, well, hydro is 2 years ago, and if you think about gold, it's probably about 5-6 years ago, and we had some JVs going on with Newmont and RGM. RGM is more recent. Now that's just to evaluate and naturalize, have an inherent hedging. It's a little bit of an accounting term. But if you think of pricing from gold and oil and gas, specifically oil, if you want to have a natural / inherent hedge, you go into oil from one perspective and the other side gold. So that was a kind of a thinking process from an accounting perspective. If we think of Statoil as what is our strategy and where are we going in the next 5 years? We have goals, we have a purpose statement, but the one thing that I mission, vision, but the values are very important. And then the one thing I want to really, and that's number one, is our safety, the HASEC focus. And then the third one, people focus. I mean, those two things are embedded throughout the entity. And that also reaches out throughout the society. And we'll get there through a few slides later on. Well, what are the underpinning purposes of Statoil. And here's where we get to the current developments in the uh, deep offshore waters. If you look at number 3, 4, and 6, we want to establish at least 3 JV partnerships by 2030. We want to participate in the deep offshore field developments and productions, and then that's a big one, a big goal, but we need to work towards it because Statoil wants to have a seat as the NOC from Suriname onto the table with the big IOCs. So not giving up our assets, but taking part into how to manage the assets that Suriname has discovered. And number 6, in order to get to on that table and having a seat with the IOCs, we need to strengthen our organization and follow the world-class standards. And that's one of the things we've done in starting in 2018 was converting our financial statements from a more so a local type US, yeah, a local type gap that was not recognized everywhere to the IFRS standards. So we started, and we'll get to that in a few slides later down the road as well. A few core parameters to mention. As you see, we have gold and oil. Reserves are stated. We have 2 oil mines, one with Marion, that's with Newmont, and the Saramacca oil mine, gold mine, sorry, that's with RGM. Our reserves are good. One is a 25% investment, joint venture investment, and the other one is a 30% investment. The oil reserves that you see up there at the top, those are our onshore oil production. Offshore, yes, very important, and that's what we're getting now to the new developments. We are focusing on capacity building, deep water exploration, appraisal, and also shallow offshore licensing. So we're not into the producing oil yet. We are currently still in the appraisal and exploration phases. In Block 58 of the basin, we have 4 major oil finds, 3 which one happened in 2020, and the 4th happened in January of 21, all found by Total and Apache. The operator was Total. Currently, Total is drilling their appraisal drills. Hopefully, by mid-August, we should have the results of the appraisal drilling. And also, not to forget gas, we had a significant gas find by Petronas and ExxonMobil in Block 52. Shallow offshore, we're not forgetting that. We also are going to the licensing rounds, which has started in 2020. And since this is a new development, a new area for Statoil, we are focusing on having the right people on the right spots, so forming the right teams, and also extensive training programs, which we are doing local, and also webcasts online. And we're also doing some, well, with COVID, it's a little bit difficult, but before COVID started, we did some secondments in different countries outside of Suriname. We had talked about SHI a little bit earlier, SHI. The focus that we have is there formalizing our ring-fenced organization. It is an institutional role, and we need to manage that. We need to manage the appraisals and the developments and the evaluation processes separately from the commercial role that Statoil has. So it is very important to keep that separate. Our Hydrocarbon Institute is currently evaluating the internal processes and establishing standards, processes, and also their capabilities. SHI was founded on 18th of February 2020. It's a ring-fenced PS where the petroleum contracts are all being dealt with. It's new, it's challenging. We are working on many different facets such as compliance of accounting and the drilling operation and also oil spill processes. And then going on to the next slide, and for some reason I am out of my presentation mode. if we think of, okay, all these things that are happening in an NOC as such as Statoil, what's the impact on our current business? The impact is huge. We need to design and implement finance target operation models. We need to design and implement a controlled environment. So when we think of going to the international market, we need to have an ICFR. We need to strengthen our corporate governance. We need to work on an offshore commercial and funding task force where we work towards our participation rights. So you need to find funding, you need to find money in order to participate. We are working on our ESG, developing that because that's needed for funding currently, and also needed for our social efforts and our governance within the firm. And then we need to strengthen our international investor relations program. That's very important. Yeah, we've heard from different speakers about our ESG, how important it is, and we've experienced that the last year almost as well. And then we have a policy in place for that. And then the last thing that I just want to focus a little bit on is our corporate social responsibility. I mean, with the COVID pandemic in the past year and a half, Statoil, when you think of the S out of the ESG, has really done a tremendous job on contributing. We have a Sue for Sue, where we are contributing. We started that initiative. We have assisted financially and also non-financial for households where we had no tap water. We assisted with that. And just overall, developing a new HSE management system and devoting the resources to help our people and the society is just one of the top things when we talk about our people and our country. In the end, the goal is to get these oil developments offshore and to help not only the government with funding, but in the end the nation, because we need to get out of I mean, all have heard of the IMF restructure, and this development and getting into a better place financially will also assist with that process in the coming 5-10 years. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and I thank the organization for organizing this very great conference and for inviting Statoil. Back to you, Alison.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've learned so much about Guyana and Suriname. I mean, it's amazing when we do these conferences. I told everybody we were going to get some exciting and passionate things and learn on a Friday.